Is football crazy? Is football mad? That football had just taken away the little bit of sense he had. And it would take a dozen servants to wash his clothes and scrub, since Paul became a member of that terrible football club.
Hello everyone, welcome to this very special episode of the Football Crazy podcast. I am your host Jeffrey Gibson, once again coming to you from my home, and on today's episode I am going to be talking about an abandoned football stadium, and the abandoned football stadium I am going to be discussing is Roker Park, the former home of Sunderland. So let's begin. I have always known Sunderland at the Stadium of Light, and when I found out that they began at Roker Park when I was younger, I wanted to find out more about that time of the club, and when I started this podcast I knew there would be no better time to explore that part of Sunderland's history, and here is what I found out. As you know, Roker Park was the home of Sunderland Football Club between 1898 and 1997. It was the successor of a site on Newcastle Road that Sunderland occupied in the late 19th century, but which had quickly become too small for the increasing crowds. A site was therefore selected for a new stadium, and on the 10th of September 1898 Roker Park officially opened with the match against Liverpool, which ended 1-0. Further developments to the ground were made in 1912 when the Roker end was concreted. About 50,000 people could fit in the stadium at that time. And in 1929 a new main stand, designed by Archibald Leach, was built. The official capacity of Roker Park during the 1930s was 60,000, however in March 1933 a record attendance of 75,118 supporters visited an FA Cup tie between Sunderland and Derby County. A few years later the clock stand was rebuilt at the stadium. The ground got extensively renovated for the 1966 World Cup, with seats installed at the clock stand and a roof added to the full well end. During the World Cup 3 group matches and the quarter-final between the Soviet Union and Hungary, which ended 2-1, were played at the ground. Even though further improvements were made during the 1970s, the stadium gradually deteriorated and lacked any expansion possibilities, being hemmed in by housing. In its latter years the capacity of this ground was severely reduced to a mere 22,500. In 1996 construction started on the Stadium of Light at a site a few hundred yards away from Roker Park. The Stadium of Light got completed in 1997 and Roker Park was subsequently demolished and replaced by housing estates. Looking back at the history of Roker Park, I think it is a massive shame that they were unable to continue to make improvements to the ground, as I think all football clubs should only have one home and one home only, and it's so heartbreaking when football clubs move from one home to another, as it feels like they are abandoning their history, and that somehow is a kick in the face to the fans of the club. I hope you have enjoyed my look back at Sunderland's time at Roker Park. I will be back on Saturday to preview the EFL League One game between Wycombe Wanderers and Sunderland, and yes, Music and Larry will also be back, so until then thank you so much for listening, stay safe and enjoy the football.
Is football crazy? Is football mad? That football had just taken away the little bit of sense he had. And it would take a dozen servants to wash his clothes and scrub, since Paul became a member of that terrible